playing together for a couple of years, like they only change 1 or 2 players. And they have been doing really good, but then having bad times. Normally they qualify for events, doing good, and then in the event they just do really bad, fail, get nervous. This is the first time they play in the event as in online. They're Spanish, so they're really good. Not that I'm Spanish.
Welcome back. After these first 2 exciting matches, let's keep the matches moving. A little thing for the next 2 matches, we'll have Quickshot and Jason casting. So let's move over to them for a look at the next match.
Thank you, Shocks. It's time for our 3rd matchup of the day. It is going to be, of course, Fnatic versus Giants. This is going to be a revenge grudge match from the League of Legends Championship Series qualifiers where Giants, let's be honest, stomped Fnatic.
That still even might be an understatement right there, but it was just insane because they completely 2-0'd their group. They 2-0'd the semifinals, got their place into the LCS, and Fnatic after that first game, I think they're feeling a little confident.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? They had a very, very good game. They were behind for a while, but they pulled it back. Okay?
Well, to be honest, they were behind pretty much the entire game until that one team fight.
It's becoming the trend for Fnatic.
Yeah.
There was a couple of comments on Reddit I was reading that were saying, you know what? It's just Fnatic. They baited SK in and then decided to roll over them again. Nevertheless, we're looking up, it's going to be Fnatic against Giants. Giants, Exterminare in the mid lane. He did phenomenal with Ryze at the LCS qualifiers. He stomped over X-Pekka's Lux. I believe at one point, Pekka was around 0.5, 0.6. And it's something you don't see out of him very often. Do you think they're going to ban something like that?
Well, the thing is, that game was kind of special because you ran a Lux against a very tanky team, and you can't really do that unless you get the early kills, well, obviously early on, but he didn't get any of those. And because of that, he couldn't do the damage, and they ended up falling behind. The real question to me is, are they going to be banning Kennen? Because Jim Bones played him, I believe, 3 out of the 4 matches. He played Ashe in the other one, which I believe was against Fnatic. And we're going to kind of see if he can run other 80 champions besides that Ashe, besides that Kennen, because they were really focused around those heavy CC compositions.
Yeah, that's so true. Through their playoff stages, it was literally just AoE crowd control. That is what they built. That is what they focused on. And they played a slow game. They didn't commit to fights until they were ready for it. They farmed their way in after 30 or 35 minutes and then went, right, now let's go for fights. Samux was running teleport, Bruiser Katarina up in that top lane.
Yeah.
He would just join the fight late and then come in and clean house once all the CC had been placed down. We know Fnatic, all right? Fnatic, of course, they're playing with Yellowstar now. They have been playing with him for a number of weeks, months probably by now. And, we've seen from the previous game, they're not afraid to try slightly oddball compositions. Caitlyn mid, Urgot Taric bottom. Do you think they've got another sort of cheesy strategy up their sleeves?
Of course. I mean, they boot camped so hard before they had to qualify for Season 3. They have to have so many tricks. The Urgot Taric, I mean, I wouldn't call, that's obviously not a trick because they was ran against them. They got destroyed. But that Caitlyn middle, just like you're mentioning, that it worked out so well. It was such a good counter to Nivea. You couldn't lock her down. Well, they did once, but once that was it the entire game. You get that 90 cabinet over the wall and you're gone. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I really don't. I'm really curious, though, if Giants has an answer to anything like that.
Well, this is the thing. Fnatic, we know that the champion pool and champion diversity goes really, really deep. Peke, Soaz, Cyanide, they play absolutely everything under the sun. N-rated in that bottom lane, he's known for so many different supports. We mostly see Yellowstar playing Caitlyn. Let's be very honest about that. But he has played a very, very strong Ezreal in the past. I think he played one at the LCS qualifiers as well for a couple of games. Their champion pool is very deep. Giants, they've been around a long time under different organization names, but effectively the core of the team is the same. I wonder if they have that same depth of champion pool. If they don't get a heavy CC composition, do they have the experience at this level of play to defeat Fnatic again?
That's the thing. At LCS, we didn't see anything other than that heavy CC composition. But then again, if it's not broken, why fix it? If it worked out perfectly for them, why not keep using it time and time again until it actually gets shut down? So, if you're at this point, if you're this good at the game, you have to have some other kind of compositions to really work with. You can't really depend on that one only. We see teams like Gambit Gaming, EG, have so many different champions, and Fnatic, like you're saying, exact same pool. I mean, so as Stanley was saying from TPA, easily one of the best top laners in the world. He pretty much invented the Jace in the top lane. He was one of the first for Elise, one of the first for Kha'Zix, and I'm sure he has a lot more other champions. And one thing I'm kind of curious about is that during the first game we saw today, there was no Kha'Zix ban, and he wasn't picked either.
Yeah, it seems to have fallen out of favor just this last week. I was watching a number of the NA LCS matches, and although Kha'Zix did appear, he was banned a couple of times, he was picked a couple of times, it wasn't that instant first pick location, which is what we tend to be seeing, for the last 2 or 3 LAN events that we've seen. So I wonder if it's not just a slight shift in the game, because of course he has been slightly reduced in power on the most up-to-date patch, which is not we're running. It is very, very small, but teams may be starting to think it's not quite fitting the play style that they need. He can get blown up and killed with enough focus.
And that's the thing. That's the key to being a really good team, I say time and time again, is how how good you guys are at adapting to new strategies, to new champions being out. You have to be able to do that. Like, game by game, we saw them day one into Extreme Rush Katowice, completely got destroyed. I mean, it's hard to say that, but it's true. And then they came in day 3 into the playoffs where they squeaked by into it. They 2-0'd both the Zubus at the time, and that was just unprecedented. I mean, Season 2, they were one of the first teams to start that heavy counter jungling, that really aggressive counter jungling, and we'll see if they, if other teams can kind of come into the scene with that new, fad.
What I like about that as well is Gambit, they tried the Udyr. Even though it failed, they tried it. All right. So we'll see whether or not, any other new tricks are going to be thrown up. I believe we are getting ready for this matchup, and let's have a quick rundown of those rosters and players once again. It is, of course, Fnatic versus Giants. Giants, the all-Spanish roster. We'll see the player names in just a moment as we pull that graphic up on screen. And you know what? Giants, being an all-Spanish team, having all the players speaking the same language, Samux, Exterminare, Jimbones, Babetta, and Morden, it just plays into their favor.
Yeah, that's really one thing that doesn't really get talked about much is the language barrier between teams. It's really hard to kind of, if you don't speak English as your first language, to talk in English when you're trying to call strat, stuff like that. But for Fnatic's side, I mean, we have Soaz, Xpeke, Yellowstar, and Rated, Cyanide, so many big names, so many good players. It's just going to overall be an amazing match.
Yeah, so true. I believe that we have Shox on stage, ready to introduce each of the players. So let's throw this one over to her.
Yes, we are ready to meet the teams. First up is the Spanish powerhouse Giants for the first time here on our stage. Starting off with the AD carry, Jimbo. On support, we have Babetta. In the mid lane, Exterminare. The jungle, Morden. And top lane, Samux. And on the other side, we have Fnatic within the mid lane, Xpeke. Their jungler, Cyanide. In the top lane, Soaz. On support and Rated. And finally on AD carry, Yellowstar. All right, the teams are ready to go. We're anxious to start the match, so let's go back to Quickshot and Jason.
One Shox, you can see the looks on the players' faces, and let's be honest, Giants are a little nervous. Giants don't have that air of confidence that we've seen from some of the other teams, but same with Fnatic. They know that they lost the last time they met. They're a little shaken in rate of trying the, should we say, trademark Snoopy stare? Can we go that far?
It was pretty good, I'm not going to lie.
It was a good stare. It was a good stare. We're waiting for the players to jump into this matchup. We know the individual players, but now what strengths and what weaknesses do each of these teams have under their belts?
Well, like we're talking about before, Fnatic have such a large champion pool, so as a top lane, Cyanide, which, at LCS, we saw him running jungle Olaf. I mean, you can't really let him squeak by, but you don't really see him in the jungle. He played exceptionally well with him, played such amazing games. We have the bot lane saying, and Rated. His champion pool, I mean, he plays every support extremely well. Especially his Blitzcrank, which we saw at IPL 5 quite a bit. He's going to be very hard to shut down, and we saw actually a lot of bans against him in particular, which you typically don't see bans against a support player. We see their AD carry can pretty much play anything as well. Yellowstar, he played Caitlyn very well until she missed Katowice. Was probably one of the key factors was him actually turn around the game versus SK. Plays Ezreal, just like you're saying, even Corki very well, which obviously we're not going to see here anymore. And then Xpeke in the mid lane. I mean, what does there say about him? We saw his Cassidy.
What more can you say? Let's put that. What more can you say? Over on the other side of the Giants, as we said, they've been around for a very, very long time. I think they've only had 1 or 2 substitutions within the last 6 to 8 months. It's a very stable roster, so they know how to work with one another. Their ability to communicate, to coordinate is there, and they've been playing fantastically well. I also know for a fact that both Babetta and Xpeke are actually very good friends. Whenever there's a Spanish event or a Spanish stream or a Spanish shoutcast, Babetta actually covers it for his buddy Xpeke. And when I was at the LCS qualifiers, there was a number of discussions around whether or not, that friendship, that buddy-buddy relationship actually gave Giants a tiny bit of a step up. If they're watching the games from a spectator perspective and thinking, well, we know we're going to play them at some point, let's take a couple of notes about what we see, what we don't see, what we like, what we don't like. You never know. That sort of metagame thinking, that's stepping away from the PC, looking at your opponents as people, and then deciding how to go into the matchup, it can only play into your favor.
Well, I'm pretty sure during their friendship, they kind of have that fine line to, not tell them anything secret they play. I don't want to give any cards away because, with Season 3, what's on the line, you can't afford to lose these games. You want to win every single one of the match you possibly can. And Fnatic, starting off very solid 1-0. Even the first game was a little bit shaky, looking very good for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's so true. I think D-Man was saying each of these teams will play around about 28 games over the course of the 10 weeks. So the possibilities to match and rematch, the teams that you're playing to fight for those top spots is definitely there. The look of focus on Cyanide and Peke's face is absolutely immense. You can see them there really focusing, getting into the mindset for this game, getting ready. I had a bit of a chat to Peke before any of the games started, and he was there standing chatting to the Giants guys, and he said he's got his secret strategy out, and he picked up the bottle of water and pretended to throw it over the keyboards. So maybe he wants to get a bit nasty if Exeter goes 6-0 like he did last time. I wonder
if that's allowed. Me to look at the camera like, what? It wasn't me. I didn't hit him and knock him out with the bottle of water. Maybe that one's actually frozen as well. Actually, I talked to him too after the last game that they played versus SK, and he was mentioning, that last game I was saying, 300 CS by 30 minutes or 400 CS by 30 minutes. I was kind of disappointed expecting. He's like, really? My team was like, guys, I want some farm, and he's just sitting there in the mid lane. No, give me it all, because he ended up carrying that game. Quite a personality on him. But Giants, they do have something to prove here. They already did it once at LCS, but they want to show everyone that they're easily a top-tier team, and this is the place to do it.
Yeah, it's so true. The team in particular as well. I remember watching Giants when they were competing at the Campus Party Berlin several months ago. This is August, September last year. And every single team that played against them banned Cassidy. Every single team, from Fnatic to Gers at the time, etc., they just banned Cassidy because Exterminare is particularly well known in terms of his solo queue, in terms of his online performances for that champion. And from my understanding, there's a number of compositions that Giants actually have built around the Cassidy play. I think he was banned a number of times against them at the LCS qualifiers as well, but I don't remember 100% accurately for that. What's nice to know is that even though the players at LCS, they only showed that heavy CC team, they have other champions which they are known for as well, that they can play extremely, extremely well. So also you can see them just getting ready for this matchup. This will, of course, be the Giants' first game for the League of Legends Championship Series. And it's definitely, they've got something to prove.
You mentioned about having their team work around that cast and work around that one champion, which obviously he will be the center of the team. I've actually talked to Frelnor and RNA before, mentioning, Twisted Fate. You can run him in a team. You could be amazing at him in solo queue, just like Frelnor is, but if you don't run your team composition around that, if you don't work at it as a team to work to that champion's strengths, it's going to completely falter. And obviously they've had a lot of practice with that. His rise in the mid lane, I'm really curious to see if we're going to have him use that. We saw Alex H on that last game use it. His teleport that he had really wasn't effective, didn't really create any opportunities for his team like we saw during Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. So, we have a lot of things they could actually run, and it's going to be hard to ban out any champion, against each other, because there obviously will be a lot more information out there about Fnatic than Giants, since they only played that one competition, like you're saying, at LCS. So we're just going to see what's going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fnatic kind of plays it safe. Maybe take the cannon out, maybe take Cassidy out, and then the last one, maybe Olaf, if you're not going to be able to pick him up.
Now, something that we haven't really touched on too much just yet, in terms of the games that we have seen thus far from both the NA scene and now the two games from EU, we're still seeing a lot of that HP stacking. Of course, we are one patch behind. This is 1.74, so we're not up to the current live 3.01. So it hasn't taken the knocks, shall we say. Do you think this trend is going to still continue for as long as we're still playing even with the live patch?
Yeah, why not? If it works, what's the point of trying to go for something different? But the thing is, I'm waiting for, where's the champions that do the percent health? We see Elise, she has been banned out today. She's a really good champion for that. You don't really even need to build that much damage. You can build tanky with her and still do that insane, it's like 3% base health, depending on what form you're kind of in. Vayne as well. We talked about actually during the last game, or I think between the break before the first and second game, that Vayne, she's one of those champions, she's very hard to play. She can be very effective, but it really depends on your team protecting her. And, by having her on your kind of team, you can actually sacrifice one lane because of the damage she does to, get that extra protection in. But, we'll kind of see how it works, because, it kind of evolves the way the meta evolves right now. So it's, stack health, what's the way to counter that percent damage, like Kog'Maw.
And that worked for Fnatic at the LCS qualifiers against Alternate. Yellowstar was playing Kog'Maw in that particular matchup, and I believe there was an Olaf on the enemy team as well for playing for Alternate.
It was a big poke game.
Alternate's Aranea rather was running Lee Sin and just couldn't get to Kog'Maw to deal enough damage to push him out of fights. And the longer that game went, the more damage that Biochem Barrage was dealing, and it was the item that allowed them to break through this League of Warmogs trend, this League of Warmogs mindset that we're currently in. I am just hearing from the admins that the players are just finally setting up their hotkeys and their settings, making sure that they are 100% comfortable after that rather epic EG versus GG matchup. The players are just making sure they're fully settled for this third game of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important because you're coming to a venue where you don't have all your key bindings, you don't have everything set up because you have to feel really comfortable. Like back in the Counter-Strike days when we were playing, if I go to someone else's house to play, I have to have everything just right, the mouse perfect, or else your aim is really affected. Same, with trying to get that clutch move on your mouse to, select the right person when they're completely grouped up with like a Cho'Gath. It's a very hard thing to do. These teams should be, well, hopefully done very soon. We do have Giants finally joining in. And honestly, quick shot, I'm kind of really excited to see what's going to happen here because... The storyline for this matchup is so amazing. You've got Giants. They've been around in one form or another under a number of different names. Many of them might recognize the name Ocelot World from ECC Poland.
ECC Poland. They even used to play under the Existence tag before that. There was the team has been around for a very long time, and it's so amazing to see that their dedication and their passion and their drive to be a strong competitive team has paid off. They are a sponsored professional team in the League of Legends Championship Series, and now it's up to them to prove. They've beaten Fnatic once already at the qualifiers and stomped their way through their playoff matches as well. The question is now, can they do it again on stream in front of everybody every week for the next 10 weeks?
Well, stability, really is a huge factor with the teams. You look at Gambit Gaming, they've had their roster for, ever since Empire. You have, EG now. I was going to call them CLG for a second there. Have the same roster for such a long time. We have Fnatic, who's pretty much locked down their roster after they had Reckless, unfortunately, had to drop out since he's too young. But that stability, getting to know each other, what you're going to do in every kind of situation really helps you win these team fights because that's where it's oriented at right now. It's not oriented at the laning phase anymore since we get out of it so quick with the Season 3 patch. It's more about, grouping up, pushing, less items, more synchronization with your team to kind of win the game. Yeah,
it's something, I can't remember who was saying it earlier, but it's around the understanding that it's players, teamwork, and communication that wins you fights, not items, CS, and gold value. The more we watch this game, the more you start to realize, yes, that gold difference is it's a key metric to keep an eye on and understand who's got the leg up.
Right.
But it's not the differentiating factor. We keep referencing the rather epic Evil Geniuses versus Gambit Gaming comeback at DreamHack when it was still M5 CLG. I think there was a 20k goal difference between them, and just simply having a composition that allowed them to stall and the communication within the team allowed them to pull that one back. So this is something that we're going to start to see more and more and more of as these teams continue to play at the absolute top of their game for the next 10 weeks.
And the thing is, without distraction. Most of the teams that came in, the final five that we had, be brought in, well, besides maybe Fnatic, had jobs outside of this. They had, potentially school. They had a lot of other things going on in their lives. But now, with that paycheck coming in, monthly, you're going to have that time to finally practice, to settle down. Everyone getting their gaming houses. I believe Fnatic finally just got their house not too long ago. CLG's here, EG's here now. I think Gambit Gaming actually is the only team, or maybe there's one more, that isn't actually going to be living in Cologne for Season 3 because they're just going to fly in every week because I believe Edward still has school. And obviously that is a very important thing for everyone.
Yeah, that's so true. The amount of time you can dedicate to this, the amount of time you can dedicate to stepping away from the game and, theory crafting it. Looking at every single composition you can run, every single champion, every single possibility in terms of the games, the items, etc. It's so important. During one of the interviews with Hotshot GG, there was a rather interesting discussion around how the CLG NA team builds compositions and builds team fights around items. They think about, hey, what items can we build,
I'm just
and
thinking
how will
about that.
they work
It's like
with other items?
What, just poke comps or, let hotshots pretty much solo lane or slow push until they want to fight?
Well, they've got a bit more depth than that. A little bit more depth
and running teleports.
There we go. Adding teleport to the mix. So you see there, Giants once again, they seem ready to go. We have a few members in this game lobby. It's up to about 5 or 6, so we should be going very, very soon. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, Jason. Where is your prediction? Where is your money? I know Carmack has already lost some money today. He was mentioning on Twitter.
Gosh.
But if you were a betting man, where would it be?
Fnatic.
You think so?
I'm fairly confident because after that first game, even though it was a little bit sluggish early on, I think they're the team to really beat this season. They're easily top 3, if not top 2, maybe even the #1 team, just because they've known each other for so long. They play so well. Expeke, we heard Broken Shard actually talk about it in a video earlier that that we have really consistent mids and we have really clutch mids, and he's consistently a clutch mid because he keeps putting off these plays. He's really the backbone of the team, and with someone like that leading you, it's really hard to fail.
Yeah, I agree with that, but if I were a betting man, I would put my money on Giants. I'm expecting them to surprise. I think they've gone home and they've prepared for this matchup. It's the only game of the day for them, so they've only had to worry about Fnatic for Saturday for today's games. And it helps a lot when you know there's only one set of players that you need to research all the time from the LCS qualifiers. A couple of days after that, the schedule was announced on lolesports.com. These guys are going to know what they're getting into, and they're going to know what's coming their way.
The thing is, you mentioned the only game of the day, and that's also a bad thing, because maybe you're not warmed up, maybe you're not ready to go, maybe you kind of just lost your focus throughout the entire day, which you really can't afford to do. And yeah, I mean, they have one team to research, which is completely true. They sure know these teams, by the back of their hands.
Chance to win. It's your only chance to win. So it is a back and forth whether or not they're used to this best of one. That's it. Rock up. It's a full day. I mean, if you think about the amount of preparation that goes into the single game, and you have 30 or 40 minutes, if the game goes that long, to actually pick up a victory, it's a very stressful situation to be in. I believe for this game, Fnatic will have the first pick, first ban, and of course it will be Giants over on the red team second pick. If I recall correctly, wasn't Vi banned out by Fnatic against SK in the first matchup?
Yeah, it was. We saw actually Shushay from Dragonborns play an exceptional Vi in the mid lane. I was sitting next to Jat, sitting next to Freak during the LCS qualifiers, and you hear Jat just start making the song, and then Freak starts chiming in with the actual words, because with that home guard, with that teleport, she would scare the crap out of you. You wouldn't see her coming, and then she would pop that ultimate and knock you up, and you would just get exploded.
Yeah, I was doing a bit of research leading up to the LCS qualifiers, and I was seeing a lot of the top junglers and sort of bruiser type players actually running Vi in also different lanes, top, mid, and jungle. And I'm really excited to see more of her. I think she's a fantastic champion and really exciting to watch, especially when she locks on with that assault and battery, and she starts using those rocket boots with the laser sight to fly across the map. You cannot get away from her once she sets her sights onto you, and I think it's an extremely exciting champion. I'd like to see if it gets picked up, if it gets played. Morden's champion pool, I'm not too familiar with it. I'm not 100% sure what his preferred role is. We've seen at the LCS he was running sort of those utility type junglers and really just giving some support to the rest of his team. And I believe that we have the picks and bans underway. The first ban from Fnatic is Rise. Are you at all surprised by that?
Nope. As we were just talking about before, I mean, we're probably going to see a casting coming up in a split second just to really keep Exter out of this. But the thing is, we see a Blitzcrank ban. I don't think we've seen him yet today, but N-rated IPL 5 did exceptionally well with him. So many good hooks that would just open up so many opportunities. You could be behind the entire game, but if you land that one clutch pull and get that one kill, it completely turns the game around. It's
so true. The threat that Rocket Crab poses in the mid to late game is just, it's over 9,000. Nunu has been banned out as the second ban from Fnatic. This is, of course, the patch prior to the Blood Boil nerfs, the Blood Boil reduction, so he is still extremely, extremely powerful for this week and for next week. And the following week, we'll be jumping up to the live patch. And Cassidy, interestingly, being banned from Giants. Now, we know Expeke plays a really strong Cassidy as well. We've seen it in a number of tournaments, a number of places. But interesting to see them banning it out against them, this early on.
Oh, I mean, it's kind of a respect ban in the end. I mean, you do have two amazing Cast players going head-to-head. We see Zinzao banned out, which I'm honestly kind of happy to see, because over the past couple of weeks, he's been so strong. That displacement from your ultimate is insane. You just build straight tank on him. You still do a decent amount of damage. And it can end up, obviously turning the fight around. But we still have Olaf got through. We have Kazakus who got through. We have Elise who got through. And we have a Mumu as well. I mean, we didn't really touch on this too much, but we haven't seen much curse to the side both time, because European teams, unfortunately, haven't been able to pull it off.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. We've seen Gambit Gaming trying it in the very first matchup of the day at IEM Katowice.
That failed so bad.
It was terrible.
You can't run it against a Korean team.
Yeah, they
There's
were
no
playing
way.
it against a Korean team. They tried to play that meta, and I don't know what the thinking was behind that, why they decided to go that route, and it didn't work out. We've seen a number of teams say, look, we'll let it through, we know how to counter it. And, to varying degrees of success, it has been countered. But these high-priority picks and bans that we've been seeing over the last month, available for selection. Olaf is the one that Fnatic decided to lock in, but it does mean that both Elise and Kha'Zix are available. We'll see whether or not Giants decide to pick them up.
And as we were talking about before, we see Fnatic lock in that Olaf. Not sure if that will be top lane on SOAS or even in the jungle on Cyanide, since you played exceptionally good Olaf. It's just pretty much it's up to Fnatic to choose what they want. And that's the thing about choosing a champion like that early on, where you already showed you're an amazing jungler, because you're not sure where he's going to go, so you can't necessarily pick a champion you want to go up against him with.
It's quite nice to pick up from Giants on the flip side, though. Babetta, he has locked in that Zyra. I believe he played Zyra a couple of times at the LCS qualifiers, and it's twofold. First of all, Babette is a very, very strong Zyra player. It plays into their team style of large amounts of crowd control, large amounts of utility, all the way down the champion roster. You've already got the Grasping Roots, the Stranglethorns, and the Cocoon just in those two champions alone. And of course, N-rated playing Zyra. We've seen the whole way through, December, IPL 5, for example, where he'd build that ability power support Zyra, sorcerer shoes, and things like that. So not only are they taking it away, but they're also securing it for themselves. And Kate and Lulu pick up flavor of the month AD combo.
Well, not necessarily flavor of the month. I mean, it's a very strong combo. You have so much pushing power with the Glitter Lance through the entire wave, then the Piltover Peacemaker. You can clear a wave out pretty much instantly. But one thing we do have for Giants right now is they have a sort of disengaged composition, which is kind of weird to have against an Olaf, but this kind of comp works extremely well. If you pick up a Shreya, just get a little bit of extra speed, then you can completely stay away from him, and by that, you run out that Ragnarok, then you just lock him down and blow him up, and there we see Jimbone sitting on his cannon. He loved that AD cannon, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see it, because that adds another layer of CC. It gives him the extra mobility with that Lightning Rush to run away. It's not a bad pick overall.
Yeah, run away or commit to the fight, depending on which way you want to go. Seeing how they want to run it. Exactly, depends on which direction the fight is going, I suppose. So he has hovered over that cannon. I believe it was on Varus for a split second beforehand, which still plays into their CC combination. That Chain of Corruption, it's a snare. Depending on how tightly knit your opposing team is, it can lock them down. So we'll see how they decide to play it out. I believe Exter ran Wukong a couple of games as well. It may have even been against Fnatic.
Actually, Peke ran him in the first game of the day.
Has run Wukong as well, but I know that,
not today.
Again, just look at this massive amount of CC. When you think of all of the stuns, the ultimates, the knockups, it's very, very scary. The question for me is for Giants in this composition, when their ultimates are not up, can they still win team fights? In that time frame, when they do not have those press Rs, can they, stop a raging Ragnaroking Olaf?
It depends what Fnatic picks up here, because they have Olaf to be extremely tanky. They have the Lulu ultimate to help out as well. If they want to pick up a little more damage, they can burst someone down extremely quickly, because you're going to have a Zyra who's just extremely squishy. You have Kennen who's going to be squishy. You have Wukong who, builds DPS initially, then builds out Warmogs, and the same thing Elise who goes for the Warmogs, as a first item. So if you pick a lot of heavy damage right now, you can pretty much keep them out of the fight. You can keep them at a point where they don't get strong enough to really engage you head on and get their entire composition working. However, with the Zyra, with the Wukong together, if they do set that up perfectly, they're going to catch so many members of Fnatic, and they could, easily turn that around for themselves. But a Malphite actually pick up right here. Not a bad, champion, because it's really hard to get into the back lines of teams lately. They have had really strong champions in the front, but with the composition they have right now, they can easily get on top of Zyra, easily get on top of Kennen, and really create a lot of problems. And then we see, it looks like Peke going to be running Italy in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting composition from Fnatic right now. I mean, you've got sort of the hard engage from the Malphite ultimate. You've got Olaf who likes to just go, balls deep and run in there. Raging Viking. I said I was going to use it. Go running in there. He's currently sitting on Flash Barrier, so those are slightly different summoner spells than we're used to seeing on, a champion like Olaf. If you consider that both of them, you can have an unstoppable force landing immediately followed up with Lulu's ultimate, that wild growth. That's 2 knockups. And remember, you cannot cleanse a knockup. You cannot get away from that crowd control. If depending on who's going to play Malphite, whether it's going to be Cyanide or Soaz, maybe even Peke, it's a possibility. Double knockups and buying Yellow Star all the time in the world to deal damage with Caitlyn, it's quite a scary prospect.
Oh, actually, looks like we might see Zyra in the mid lane here, and Wukong towards the top. We did see actually jungle leased by Giants during the LCS, so wouldn't be too surprised to see it yet again. Cyanide going to be switching over to Olaf. And quick shot, one thing is, you mentioned the Malphite, starting the fights. But the thing is, if Giants can keep their ward coverage up, if they can keep spread out like they should be against a Malphite, then that Malphite ultimate really won't do much. If he's going to be able to land that clutch ultimate, which we've seen a lot of teams have trouble with, with the Moo landing the ultimate onto enough people to really lock down the entire team, then it could go very south for them very quickly, as we do see champions still being traded around last second here.
Yeah, a couple seconds on the clock. Interestingly, it looks like we're going to have... it was swapped there at the moment. I see Samux is going to be taking Wukong to that top lane. Exta with Zyra in the middle at the moment. And that's a lot of disengage. If a good Grasping Roots and Stranglethorns goes down, you could lock up the rest of Fnatic. You're not going to be able to stop the unstoppable force that's going to be diving at you. Exactly. Or a Ragnarok-empowered Olaf. He's going to get through you. But if you can keep the rest of the team back, keep them away, focus down one of the champions, depending on how they're going to be built, it's a possibility. It could go well for Giants, but it's going to come down to those individual calls and when they actually use their abilities.
It's really dependent on how good they can use all their ultimates together, because you have the crescendo to really lock down the team. You have the knock-up from Wukong, you have the knock-up from Zyra. If you can time that all perfectly, you will lock down pretty much Yellow Star right away, and you could easily burst him down with Elise, who can get into the backline with that repel, and with the percent damage can easily destroy him. It's just really dependent on how well Giants played early on, because if they mess up early on, they're not going to win this game, just because they need that time, they need the extra gold to really build tanky enough to, sustain the damage that Fnatic will put out.
Talking about the diving, if Elise does decide to go, aggressive, Morden playing Elise in the jungle and does decide to go for Yellow Star's Caitlyn, if he gets followed up by Samix's Wukong, that's quite a nice dive buddy composition as we are into the matchup. There it is, Giants versus Fnatic. Who do you prefer in terms of picking off the carry, Elise, Wukong, or somebody like Malphite and Olaf?
I'd just say Elise Wukong, because Malphite really doesn't offer too much in terms of damage into that entire fight. It's all about Olaf, who, he's very limited by cooldowns in terms of landing your E over and over and over. Obviously, if you build Shurelya's or even the Luck of the Iron Solar, you'll help mitigate that a little bit, but I don't know, the Wukong, his ultimate, if you can just stick on top of Yellow Star, you do so much damage. You have like one of the highest, well, not ratios, but your highest bases in the game on an ultimate.
Yeah, the amount of damage that can deal over a full duration will absolutely shred Yellow Star in the early stages of this game until he does eventually pick up some defensive items. And we see a number of early wards once again, not too many up on the northern side of the river for Fnatic, but some river wards in and around that mid-area bush, just making sure there's no invades. But Giants right now, they're currently set up in this bush. We may see one of those sort of famed delay invades. They wait until sort of 1:50 on the clock before they start to invade. Jason, take us through these matchups. Malphite versus Wukong in the top. Who's going to win that one?
Well, Wukong does have that percent armor pen, which really pretty much decimates Malphite. But the thing is, with the attack speed reduction, even though Wukong gets it off of his E, it's not really going to be too, helpful for Wukong to do steady damage. But the thing is, that lane is all going to come down to how well Samus can use that teleport to really get into ganks in the mid lane, even in the bottom lane, to really open up some opportunities. In the mid lane, Nilia versus Zyra, it's pretty much just coming down to if Xpeke can land a spear. I mean, we did see it was against Zubu Frost. He landed 3 or 4 spears in a row onto Helios and just completely destroyed him on his Amumu. And then the bottom lane, I mean, Caitlyn, Lulu, very strong pushing. Kennen, Sona, I mean, he ran his Kennen with Nunu mostly, and they unfortunately don't have that this time, so it's going to cause a lot of problems for him to push the lane back out. So as long as Yellow Star keeps that lane pushed up against him, Jimbo's going to have a really hard time getting the CS.
So we do see, though, that we have a lane swap coming into play. Giants have thrown their Kennen-Sona combination up into that top lane to face off against Soaz's Malphite. And, of course, we will see Samux down in the bottom lane. This is a move that Giants have done. They have decided to throw this one around. Do you think Malphite's probably the better 1v2 because of that Granite Shield, his passive?
It definitely helps. So the thing is, you have that stun out of Jimbones, which really lock him down. You have the poke out of Babetta. You're seeing right there, he's tanking it pretty well with that cloth armor. Bot lane, though, Wukong, I mean, he's going to have such a tough time. He does have that clone to get away if available. I see, N-Raid, he's pushed up so far right now. He's keeping him zoned out of the the minion wave. The thing is, Wukong can last it under tower a lot better than Soaz can.
And with regards to these tower pushes, we'll see who can come out better. Caitlyn will obviously be able to outrange Jimbones' Kennen, and with having Lulu there as well, it becomes one of these wars of attrition. You can see how badly can you starve your opposing team's top laner, and who can pick up that tower the quickest. Once that tower drops, you normally see those AD and supports rotate to the alternate top or bottom lane and try to shove that one down. And level 6, Wukong and Malphite, underfarmed, without items, for example, they're going to offer an almost identical amount of utility and almost damage to the opposing sides. Wukong may be a little higher.
I don't know. I'd say Malphite offers a little more utility with that ground center, really shut down Jimbones' damage. One thing that's really interesting is if you check out Jimbones right now, he's sitting on 4 AP. So
take a look at this. Morden coming up in the top lane. He does throw out that cocoon. It hasn't landed. Turret is being tanked by Morden. Finally, Soaz goes down. Beautiful first blood by Jimbones as you see the repel from Morden up into the air. He gets away from the last tower hit. And Giants coming in huge 1-0 with a 3 versus 1 tower dive.
Yeah, so well done. But to tank that turret in the beginning, took all that damage, soaked it up, and then we saw it switch over to Morden, who just repelled away to send it right over to Jimbones, but it didn't matter. He was dead. And that's something that's really surprising. You should expect that 3-man gank if you see a lane switch. It's going to happen, and yet they didn't try to prevent it. They're going to lose their tower from that. Actually get it very low. There it is. That's a tower. It does drop 4 minutes. I believe that's the earliest tower of the tournament so far. And that's going to create a lot of problems now for Fnatic.
And look at this. Immediately, Yellow Star and N-Rated have swapped. They have moved up to this top lane after seeing that Soaz has, obviously given away that first blood. He has 4 CS on the board to the 16 of Samux. Samux has had a little bit of free farming time, which is definitely going to play into his favor. But, against a heavy or a hard CC like that Cocoon, you do need to be aware of it. It is something that has been happening time and time again over the last few weeks. But unfortunately for Soaz, he gives up the GOAT on that one, and Giants are 1-0 up. So Soaz does move to this bottom lane to start trying to catch up on CS. He's got a pretty big creep wave in front of him, so that'll play into his favor in terms of getting some CS at least.
Problem is that Samix has double the CS at the moment. Soaz just halfway level 4, as we see Samix almost level 5, so this level disadvantage currently for Soaz is going to cause him a lot of problems. But, being such an experienced top laner, well, solo laner, I'll say, since he's obviously not in the top lane, he should be able to handle this, especially if you have Cyanide come around and give him a little bit of help. And this is kind of surprising as Cyanide, because usually at this point in the game, you saw him have a couple kills, and yet right now, obviously he's sitting on none. I mean, he hasn't really been too helpful in any of the lanes just yet, as he is heading down towards the bottom lane. A ward will spot him, though.
We'll see whether or not they can get anything here. Soaz is going to carry on chasing down into Samix. He's going to have his decoy. He flashes over it, and at least it's a summoner spell blown. So successful gank with, in keeping in mind that the summoner spell is blown. Once Soaz gets to level 6 with that unstoppable force, he has a great amount of burst damage. So many people underestimate the amount of damage he can get down with a full combo. That seismic shot, ground slam, and unstoppable together chunks you down a huge amount, and if Samix stays this low, he could be in trouble. As you see, Morden is sniffing around the bushes. The Spider Lady wants to land some of those Spider-Man webs onto Soaz, but Ward is going to give up his position, and Soaz should be okay.
Quick shot, I'm kind of surprised Samix actually flashed that axe out of Cyanide, because he had his decoy up.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you didn't want to get caught, but you could use the decoy, potentially flash later if you needed to, and then been completely fine. But, you kind of blew that flash, which is going to be a huge factor into this bottom lane, because once you have Soaz hit level 6, they can lock him down, especially with the damage that Cyanide can currently put out, who is leveling up his Undertow first at the moment. But the top lane, we see Fnatic still pushed up very, very far. And I say very far because their tower is currently down right now. You could see easily Morden coming from behind, but obviously they did spawn the bot lane, so they know that they're okay for now. And it's just really in Giants' hands. I mean, they have a really decent gold lead for this point in the game.
Yeah, and it's a non-sustain lane as well. So any poke that Lulu and Caitlyn do manage to get down onto Jim Bones and Babetta, it just instantly gets healed away by Babetta's Sona. It's just such a difficult lane to deal with. If any damage comes down from Jim Bones, if he lands those lightning shurikens, if he gets some of those stuns down, you could commit in with the Slicing Maelstrom and the Crescendo, which is almost available for their lane. In terms of the burst kill potential, will the Lulu Shield be enough to save either Caitlyn or Enrated from a full combo?
Well, Yolstar is not running Cleanse, so he obviously can't get out of that double stun. The Lulu ultimate, if depending on where Jim wants to position himself, should be enough to help him get away. He does have that flash, obviously, and the 90 caliber net. And the thing is, I'm surprised that Fnatic, they're not being really, it's really hard to say you're surprised they're not really being aggressive, but with the combo they're running, they need to be, because they're so, they have the potential to push lanes so quickly.
Yeah, and they definitely got that seriously hard engage. Oh, great javelin toss onto Babetta. Chunks down about 50% of his HP. And that's coming from a Needly with only a tier of the goddess right now. There's no additional ability power on her. They seen Soaz was recalling in that river bush, and they immediately start putting pressure down onto the dragon. You can see that Cyanide is sniffing around. Cyanide, a jungler with potentially some of the highest number of smite steals in the game. The damage onto Samix is great from that Undertow. Now we see an engagement. Grasping Roots goes up as Enrated is forced out of the fight, immediately blown up as Cyanide. He gets caught under the fire of 4 members of Giants, and there was just a lack of positioning and coordination from the team there. Pekka was trying to land those tosses at max range, but with Cyanide going deep, nobody could follow in. That's
the thing. He's more about well, Fnatic kind of has more of a poke composition. As long as he can keep landing those spares, he can really set up the entire fight, because the Giants has to back up. The thing is, Giants has the head start they need right now. They have the gold they need to start getting the items that they're going to need to win these fights, to really progress them on into the later stages of the game. Fnatic should be able to hold them off as the game progresses. But if Giants can make a lot of big plays here, if they can start grouping up, forcing these fights when their cooldowns are up, because that is a key factor like I mentioned earlier. Oh,
huge, beautiful flash from Exter. The unstoppable force comes in from Soaz. Exter immediately gets away. Now Soaz is the man that's in trouble. Slicing Maelstrom comes out from Jim Bones as he tries to chase forward, but a cupcake will slow down that aggression. And what a beautiful, beautiful flash from Exter. You've seen it just at the top of your screen. Unstoppable came in, and that's a half-second reaction time. He got away, he avoided the knockup, and managed to get into that.
Yeah, not bad, definitely. And all that Giants really committed to that was that flash and was that teleport out of Samix. He got into lane. They almost got that kill on the Soaz, and that would have been insanely good for them. They could have pushed that mid tower down, but still, getting out scotch-free, not losing anyone, just, losing those 2 summoners is a trade they'll take any day.
Yeah, that is so, so true. So 13,000 gold to 10,000 gold. Giants, at the moment, they are setting the tone for the matchup. What do you think the Fnatic mindset is, considering LCS qualifiers, they were behind, they lost their game. What do they do to bring themselves back into this?
Well, first of all, the part in their minds is like, oh, come on, guys, let's not let this happen again where we got completely destroyed by Giants. But what they need to do right now is it's a problem with their lineup. It's a problem with Yellowstar. Not him, sorry, particularly with the champion he's running, because she falls off in that mid game. Caitlyn is not useless, but just doesn't do the damage other AD carries can really put out. Not to mention, you have Kennen who can put out the CC that she can't do. So they need to drag the game out just to, 10, 15 minutes longer, just let her get the items he's going to need to really start doing the damage. Not to mention, once Xpeke gets, a little bit of AP, he's just sitting on 38 right now, doesn't have any AP items. Once he hits that one spear, we could see that hard engage coming out of Fnatic, and they easily can win these fights as long as they can kind of lock down Samix and Exterminator. Now,
with the Caitlyn-Kennen matchup that you just talked about, Kennen, of course, also a non-standard AD carry. He's going to offer a lot of utility with those stuns. See, Morden is about to poke head-to-head with Cyanide, and I think so will be moving up here quickly. Cyanide is going to back away. Auto attack and that red buff comes down. The Neurotoxin is out. Soaz gets knocked up with a Cyclone. He is going to go down in this fight. Now Cyanide is thinking about an engagement, but you can see Jim Bones and Babetta coming in to close it out.
This is what Fnatic can't afford to do right now, because Giants are grouping up. They're taking advantage of how far they are ahead right now. They could be able to get this turret down very shortly if they want to, and they even have Xterra pushing that mid lane right now on Zyra. So Fnatic really on the back end right here. They're going to have a tough time defending this turret. As you do see, they're just going to kind of ditch it and fall away. And such a great job by Giants to know that, because they know they're ahead. They know, ooh, that was so close right there. That would actually maybe cause an engage out of Fnatic, but as you do see them back out, we see Sign at level 7, and that is a second turn of the game, 0-3 in favor of Giants, and they're not stopping.
And look at the damage there onto Peke as he was retreating away. Jim Bones just lands a couple of auto attacks, throws down that W of his, gets the burst down, and Peke's forced low. Fnatic just seem to be waiting for a javelin toss to land before they pick a fight, and they can't afford to do that.
And that's the thing about Kennen. I mean, if you do dive him in any sort of the way, as long as you wait for Cyanide's ultimate to be down, you have your ult to keep them off. You have a pretty much guaranteed stun that's going to land. You can just not even worry about them, and that gives you that free time to reposition, to get away from the damage and get onto targets you really need to kill.
Have a look at the CS right now. It's relatively even across the board. Both of our top laners that swap to, the 1v2s, you've got 58 to 62 CS. The only noticeable difference right now is Caitlyn with about a 20 CS lead over Kennen. But of course, Kennen does have that kill and that assist to his name. In terms of damage output, at what point does Yellowstar become more powerful? Even items? Does he need to be ahead in items? When does he become scarier than Kennen?
He has to have so much more farm than him. I mean, a good 30, 40, not 50 CS just to kind of keep up in terms of damage. I see right now, a BF sword compared to a Doran's blade, and they're pretty much just dead even at items. He has a full BF sword ahead of him. He has Berserker Greaves. He's gonna have. It's just gonna take time. He needs the farm to catch up. We saw this with Fnatic versus SK until she matches Katowice. He was behind. He just kept on farming. Kept getting the items. Ooh, a nice spear landing. And it just needs that gold to come. But we do have someone's actually going to be getting caught in the bottom lane by Jim Bones and Babetta.
Now we do see the engagement goes down. Slicing Maelstrom is up. A crescendo is now there, but Cyanide has come in. Beautiful, unstoppable force from Soaz is going to lock Babetta and Jim Bones up. Ignite is now ticking on the little electric hamster. You can see the spider lady moving in from the river. Jim Bones is still alive, but Cyanide, one more undertow will close that one out. Morden is going to run backwards. We see Samux up on the top line. He blows his Cyclone. Does manage to land it onto Yellowstar. Yellowstar's dropped to 50% HP. Carries on chasing. Nimbus strike up. One more crushing blow. Flash comes up from Yellowstar. We'll see how much is the cooldown on that 90 caliber net. 4 seconds on the clock. 3 seconds on the clock. Barrier is still available as well, so expect the barrier to come up. Great reaction time. Does land that 90, hasn't actually used the 90 caliber yet. Enrated is now coming into the fight with Wild Growth. Does actually use it, and they continue chasing. 90 caliber goes aggressive, but very nice to see from Samux gets him to safety.
I was actually surprised at how close that came both ways right there. But you're mentioning at what point does Fnatic start winning these fights, and there's a key factors being played right now. You have Samix, who almost has his Black Cleaver. He could go for that. He could go for Yomi to get the extra movement speed to make sure to stick with whoever he needs to. It's obviously going to be Yellowstar. But with that Black Cleaver, with his ultimate, it's going to pretty much put that Black Cleaver proc on every single target he hits with it over and over and over. And with Jim Bones, who already has almost a Bloodthirster right now, he's going to be putting out so much damage that he can pretty much kill anyone he wants to. Soaz, who he's currently sitting at 119 armor, nothing to scoff at, but he's going to have a hard time really surviving against Jim Bones once he gets some sort of attack speed.
Jim Bones is falling slightly further behind in terms of the farm. That gap continues to grow. 118 to 87. As you can see, Giants are playing the map, they're playing the towers. They've started the second dragon of the game, if memory serves, and it looks like this one's going to be completely uncontested. And, as long as they get the map objective, that's fine. It plays into Jim Bones' favor, and he can keep up in gold. But he really needs to be sticking into those lanes, picking up the CS. Otherwise, he's just going to fall behind. Specking now in the middle lane, tosses out those javelin tosses. Some pressure on the mid lane turret as the rest of Giants are going to pick up that blue buff. And Soaz and Samux, it's, unmovable force versus an unstoppable. What's the line? Immovable object versus an unstoppable force in the top lane. Bruiser versus Bruiser. That was the one I was looking for.
Gosh, yeah, very true. And the thing is, I mean, Giants, they're going to fall behind CS because they're grouping, because they're trying to start pushing, trying to get some turrets down. As long as Fnatic can keep them off those turrets, at least defend them long enough, they're going to keep getting the farm advantage and keep closing this gold gap. The thing is, they're giving up all these dragons. The second one of the game now they lost this. Unfortunately, not landing that jump in the right spot, but they're losing the dragons. They keep falling behind in terms of global gold. If Giants start getting a couple turrets, we used to have a teleport in the bot lane. Actually, Yellowstar going to get caught here.
He is going to try to get away, get stunned up by Jimbo, and Samix is going to land that crushing blow. Yellowstar will go down to one more auto attack, and that's just poor positioning. Why is Yellowstar down in that bottom lane?
Well, he's trying to push the lane out because he's trying to get as much farm as possible to kind of get over that hump, because there's a time window where he's useless, and as more CS he gets, the more kills he gets, the more assists, it's going to close that window further and further and further. The thing is, he forgot about Samix having that teleport, came in from behind, perfect use out of it, and picked up a free kill, and actually gave it over to his AD carried, because they want to get those items onto him to keep him in the game.
Good damage onto Samix from those javelin tosses, and we've already seen huge damage onto Babetta. If Pekka can continue landing those tosses over and over and over, Giants are simply not going to be able to pick and engage at full HP.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this time and time again with poke comps. If you can't dodge spears, if you can't dodge Jace's shock blast, then you're going to have a bad time, let's just say. Because if you eat one bad spear, just right there, Babetta, still not a lot of AP on Expect. He took one spear at max range, dropped to a third life, and that right there is like, hey, Fnatic, let's just go on this, because there's no reason not to when you have someone that low. If you can kill him before that crescendo gets off, then you're going to pretty much win those fights.
Especially if you consider that could be followed up with an unstoppable force. You could get caught by one javelin and all of a sudden, look at the damage onto Exeter again, all of a sudden have Soaz's Malphite in your face, pounding away with the ground slam and those seismic shards. It's been a very, a fairly slow-paced game, and this is actually something we've seen out of a lot of the LCS matchups. You can see the pressures on. You can see these players are, anxious and nervous because they're not pushing as aggressively as we have seen.
Well, not to mention, it's playing right into Fnatic's hands. They want this game to drag on. They want to keep getting that farm, keep getting that gold. Giants is the one that needs to make the move, and they're just not doing it right now. And the thing is, look at Malphite. Look at Soaz, how strong he's gone already. He has a Sunflare Cape, he has a Claw Thermal for Ninja Time, so you do see him get engaged upon, and actually should be dropping here.
And that's 1 versus 1. Morden, the jungler, has been able to completely drop Soaz. He uses the unstoppable force. A huge javelin toss onto Morden as now Pekka has joined the fight. Ignite is ticking away. One more Nimbus strike into crushing blow. The Igniters wore off, so Soaz does get to safety. Pekka is going to carry on chasing, decides not to throw any more javelin tosses and get away. Soaz gets away with his life, has to burn Flash, Ignite, and Unstoppable Force. But again, caught beyond enemy lines. What's he doing so deep?
Getting the farm. He's trying to keep pressure as much as possible, and with that ulti, with Flash up, he's able to get away, as I saw right there. I thought he was actually going to go down, but with that nice ulti, with the nice Flash over the wall, he's able to escape. And the thing is, even though his ulti's down and that Flash, he was able to commit the ultimate out of Wukong, out of Samix, and that right there makes it a pretty even trade.
Yeah, cooldown for cooldown, and both of them being so vitally important to both teams' team fight potential. Pekka has been pushing this mid lane for the last 4 or 5 minutes, and every single time moves up, lands a couple of auto attacks, and is not afraid to take tower hits. The Spiderlings from Morden's Elise are definitely going to help out against those javelin tosses once we get to those prolonged sieges. Do you expect to see her maybe sitting closer to the front line and using the Spiderlings as body blockers effectively?
It's kind of really hard to use that. I mean, if I had the choice between walking away and not taking a spear, or maybe trying to get a Spiderling to block it, obviously I'd go with the walking away. Actually, we do have Jimbo's going to the bot lane. We'll get that stun on the Yellowstar.
He's going to go very aggressive. Slicing Maelstrom is up. He flashes forward. Now the barrier from Yellowstar comes out. Another stun will be down shortly, and Jimbo's just completely 1v1s him.
And the thing is, Jimbones has 2,600 gold to spend when he does go back. We just Sana trying to chase him with that ghost pop. Should be able to get this.
We'll see if he can land the undertow. That's going to be the key. Jimbones dodges the first one, gets caught by the second one. You can see that Pekka is coming in from the river. Barrier gets popped. Now the javelin toss misses. There's no friendly fire on, so Cyanide will not get hit by that one. And the execution hit from the Cougar form. Pekka picks up the kill.
Yeah, but you're sending Kennen home with a lot of money, and as you see right now, it picks up an Infinity's Edge. It's going to cause that's just such a deadly item, because he leaps some bounds beyond his counterpart Yellowstar right now. As you do see Giants, they push that mid turret, got that one down. And that's the thing, mid turrets are the key turret. I mean, if you had any lane to choose to take down, you obviously want to go for that mid lane, because it gives you so much control in the jungle. We haven't seen a lot of buffs being stolen away. We haven't seen any kind of counter jungling, but this opens it up for Giants to have that opportunity.
Great play there from Giants, knowing that there was 2 people missing. Soaz has been caught out by Samux. They've gone toe-to-toe. Unstoppable Force is available from Soaz as the exploding, twitchy Spiderling goes towards the bushes, but Soaz is not revealed. He's going to stick around for a little bit. He's got that Sunfire cape up. Will be able to sustain some of the auto attack damage from those Spiderlings, but the mostly magic damage from Elise should be able to chunk him down if they pick a fight. And
something kind of surprising we have to look at more, and look at his items. I mean, he has a Haunting Guise, Sword Boots, a Cage's Lucky Pick, and an Amplifying Tomb. He's not going for that Warmogs build, which we typically see with the Haunting Guise. He's not going for the health. He's not very tanky, and I honestly think this will come back to bite him in the butt.
Yeah, the first big team engagement, I expect he'll probably get blown up very, very quickly.
Well, I mean, sorry, that's the both sides of the sword. If he can get in and get do the damage, it's going to work out perfectly. But if he gets engaged upon, he's just not going to have a good time.
So it depends on who makes the first move, really. Who manages to catch out their opponents, or who gets the better positioning in those team fights. You've seen at that very, very first Dragon engagement very early on. Fnatic just caught with their pants down a little bit. Cyanide was going in a little bit alone. You've seen that Enraged was forced out of the fight because of a lot of poke damage, and he couldn't really stay in there. And, for the first tower of the game, finally Fnatic on the board. They take that mid lane tower down.
This is going to be interesting right now. We do have Dragon up currently. Fnatic trying to make a play on it. They didn't get the last one, as we saw Giants pick it up both times. The thing is, we do have teleport available on Samix, and this is really going to be a key point in the game. If Fnatic does commit to it and we see a team fight break out, we're really going to see the power of both teams and who has the real advantage at this point.
We need to look at some items here really quickly as well. Sorcerer's Shoes and Rabadon's Death Cap have been completed for Xpeke. We have Sunfire Capes on both Malphite and Olaf. The longer the fight drags out, the more damage those 2 items are going to deal. And Javelin Toss just missing the back end there of Exter. And it looks like Fnatic want to take this Dragon.
Yeah, they're going to actually concede that Dragon away from the Giants, since Morgan did get hit by a Spirit Guy down to half health. But the thing is, they should be able to get a turret off of it. As you see Samix right now in the top lane, he's got that turret down to a 3rd health from full health. They're going to take it. Going to open up a lot of opportunities now, because that blue buff is going to be completely open. The blue buff, it's going to be completely open for the takeaway if they want to. And that's the thing on Xpeke. You need that blue buff for that CDR. You need to be able to throw as many spears as possible to really open up these fights for your team. And without that, if they do, if they do take it away, it's going to cause a lot of problems.
And I would trade a tower for Dragon or Dragon for tower any day
of the week.
Especially
a tier 2 turret.
Even though, Giants, they didn't contest it, they still managed to make the best of it. And they've been doing it a number of times this game where the Fnatic players have been a little bit out of position, and Giants have simply responded by taking an objective on the map. Dragon first, mid lane tower during that engagement where they picked up the kill on Jimbones, and now, of course, that inner, top lane turret. They've kept the gold lead at 3,000 gold. Do Giants need to be extending that more to really stand a chance against this late game Caitlyn, Malphite, Olaf combo?
Well, the thing is, the advantage they had, they kind of just gave away right there, because the gold lead, it should have been increasing for them. They should have been grouping up, taking a couple of turrets. Obviously, when you have Soaz roaming around with the ultimate, it's going to cause a couple of problems. It really makes you hesitate when trying to go in for a fight, as he does take that top turret. But the lead they did have is slowly dwindling away.
Zyra, Rod of Ages, and working towards that Rabadon's, has both the needlessly large rod and that blasting one. Once she gets that death cap completed, she's going to have a huge amount of damage. Look at that onto Babetta. That dropped him down to 250, 300 HP from full health from a single Javelin Toss. And Giants are going to need to dodge those if they want to pick any fights.
And that's the thing, what Babetta's doing. I mean, he's kind of staying away from survivability just so he can get these pink wards. Currently sitting on 2 right now, has 2 other wards and a Ruby Sightstone. He's trying to get that vision onto his entire team, like I was mentioning in the picks and bans. If they can keep that vision and really take advantage of that in the jungle, they are going to have a lot of opportunities created for them. So that's the kind of trade-off he's going with. But the thing is, if he can't dodge a spear, it's not going to matter. It's going to be in vain.
And the health missing from both of those champions there is just from spears alone. When you start thinking, if a good Glitter Lance lands from Enrated's Lulu,
you're not going to escape.
That's it. You are not going to get away from that Javelin Toss, and it is going to hit so hard. Look at that damage onto Babetta. That was 2 Javelin Tosses over the course of the last 20 or 30 seconds. And we're going to be hearing more of those moments as everyone lands. The audience is just going to absolutely love it. Bottom lane tower is still standing, but if they decide to push this one with Soaz, Yellow Star, and Enrated there on the minimap, you should be seeing the 3rd tower of the game going down for Fnatic.
And you saw, you were just mentioning it, you're touching on it, Morden taking damage from that Spirit, and that's because he's not building tanky. He finally does have the Giant spell to start building towards his Rise Crystal Scepter or Warmark if he wants to, but it's at that point where if they're not going to fight with that AP, then you're building it for nothing.
Take a look at that as well. You know, Soaz just face tanks it, takes the 4 or 5 tower hits. He has, you know, the shield from Lulu. He's got his Granite shield to block some of the damage, and they pick up those outer turrets. So 3 to 4 in terms of turrets. Fnatic, they're pulling themselves, they're clawing their way back into this matchup. You can see a conglomerate of faces, or a grouping of champion faces. Soaz is sniffing around here on the side. I wonder if we're going to see an engage over the wall. If it happens, it's going to be very explosive, but it looks like the recalls are going to come into place.
Well, there's no reason not to for them to actually fight. Currently, we do have Peke with 2,500 gold currently set right now. We do have Jimbo trying to go for engage on Cyanide and to end rated, but it's not really going to happen. How do you ever catch a Lulu and an Olaf?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to stick to them. That's, you know, so key to this. As soon as that Glitzer Lance comes down, the slow is so immensely powerful that if you've got Wukong and Kennen trying to dash forward, big damage onto Extra again. If they're trying to chase, get caught up by that Glitter Lance, wait for the Cyclone and the Slicing Maelstrom to end, and then simply re-engage. That has to be Fnatic's battle plan once they get to these bigger 5v5s.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out for them, because the gold difference that we saw earlier on, you know, 4,000 lead for Giants, now dwindled down to a 1,300, which that's not a position you want to be in when you're Giants. You had that advantage early on. You had that first turret. You had 2 dragons in a row, and you didn't make a play off of it.
Every single lane is starting to out-CS. 196 to 156, 250 to 225, 216 to 187. The fact that Fnatic have been on the back foot defending has, I don't want to use the word played into their favor, but it's allowed them to play a bit more defensively.
That's what they had to do.
Because Giants simply haven't pushed their advantage home. In terms of itemization, Jason, are you seeing anything exciting, anything that we're not expecting? I mean, Leandri's Torment, very aggressive on Morden, its jungle Elise, but nothing out of the ordinary.
That's mostly it, to be honest. Like, I was not expecting him to build for pure damage early on and then go for the tankiness later, because once you get that tankiness down, you will have, I mean, pretty much, if you look at the difference between, you know, having the AP and having the survivability to get your attacks off even more, there's a complete difference, and Morden would have benefited a lot more from that if you went for the health route. As you were pointing out, that the Doran shield currently built up for N-rated, which, I mean, that's an item you build if you need that quick defense. You can't really afford to invest in any kind of bigger item, and it really does go a long way.
And in addition to that, no boots. You've got support Lulu, who has absolutely no boots in play. And we'll see if that comes back to bite them. Yellow Sock gets caught up by those grass spooners, takes quite a bit of damage, actually. I mean, it was a good chunk, 10-15%. And we see now both Fnatic and Giants hanging around. Javelin toss up through the north, lands into Morden, chunks his HP down. You can see it missing. Soaz gets slowed by those little vines, those little roots, if you want to call them. And at the moment, it's just Giants saying, look, we don't really want to pick this fight. We're not comfortable. And they start backing off.
This is what we're going to see every time these two teams come head-to-head in a team fight. You're going to have Fnatic trying to poke them down as much as possible. And if Giants keeps eating that poke, they're going to just back out, run away, and give up objectives. They might even lose this blue up here. Soaz trying to go for invade. They actually do have a ward on this, and they could see the ultimate coming out of Malphite.
Smite steal by Cyanide. Really, really well done. Just walks in, casually picks it up, denies that buff to either Extra or to Morden, so it's going to reduce the amount of spam and spellcasting capabilities that they have. Seraph's Embrace on Needly. She's going to have that nice shield, dependent on how much mana she has. So anytime this big engagements happen with the Cyclone, with the Grasping Roots, with the Slicing Maelstrom, a lot of that is going to get blocked from that Seraph's Embrace active.
And the thing, Nidalee is a slippery champion. She's so hard to lock down because of that leap. Oh, we do have actually Exterd going onto him in the mid lane, but he just walks out of it. And you're seeing Fnatic just, you know, take Dragon yet again, so they're going to even up 2-2 in Dragons, and the goal lead in favor of Fnatic for the first time this game.
So approaching 30 minutes on the clock, 5-2 in terms of kills, 4-3 in terms of towers. The gold is completely even. I wonder if we can see who is earning the most right now. What is the difference between your lanes? You've got mid laner on Needly sitting 9,500 gold to 8,800. Forced flash from Sona to get away from Cyanide. So we're not going to be seeing any flash crescendos like we've seen out of some of the NA matchups.
Yeah, I do like the Oracle on him, though, as wow.
Kennen goes down in the middle lane as we completely missed that one. Caught out by both Peke and Yellow. So actually it was just Peke's Javelin tosses that killed him. Fnatic pick up a mid lane tower. They pick up a bottom lane tower.
Samix, you got to come back.
And they're going to carry on sieging. You know, Yellow Star's in this middle lane. The heal comes down to get that attack speed buff. You can see the rest of Fnatic in the bottom lane. And Fnatic are just turning the pressure on. Samix is in the top lane, though.
I was saying about the Oracle and Bobetta. I really like that item because it can create an opportunity for your team in their own jungle when you lose, you know, those two turrets right there. They lose the second middle turret. They're going to have a lot of enemy wards in their own jungle. So if you clear those out, you could get a favorable engage in your own jungle. But the thing is, they can't even fight anymore. They're down a goal when they needed to be up by, you know, 5,000-6,000.
And the damage there onto Extra as soon as those Javelin tosses are eaten to the face. Samux tried to split push, but he didn't really get very far.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised Fnatic didn't keep pushing that because Samix, he had his teleport available, yes, but he wasn't in a position to help in any way, and Fnatic was pretty much not in any hurry to defend that turret at the bottom because he wasn't even pushed up yet that far, but still, with those 2 lanes completely open right now, they have complete control of the jungle. If they do potentially take a bottom inhibitor, they have pretty much a free Baron.
Now, this is something that we've seen out of Giants at the LCS qualifiers where they were, we are going into a replay. This is the kill that we did miss. Then you see the Javelin toss coming out of the fog of war, catching on to Kennen and completely blew him up. So great play there from Peke, catching him, off guard and unawares. 5-3 up. Giants, what I was saying is at the LCS qualifiers, they played this. This is what they did. It was a slow game. It was a controlled game. And they simply just, decided to fight when they were ready. Maybe they're just not ready yet.
Well, I don't think they're ever going to be ready. Yeah. That's the thing, because if you're running that CC comp, you want to fight as much as possible whenever your cooldowns are up, whenever your ultimate's available, and they haven't done that, and now if they try to go for it, they're going to lose those fights
over and over. So 44,000 gold. Fnatic still holding this lead. It is a very slow game right now. Neither team has really put a lot of pressure on. The only thing that they've done, Fnatic have done that was, quite aggressive was that last passenger play where they got both of the inner turrets down for the middle and for the bottom lane. And it looks as though the teams are setting up for Baron with that Oracle's Elixir on Babetta. He's going to be clearing out the wards, and this will probably help them if they do decide to go for that. I don't want to call it desperation Baron. It's not that late. Samix goes aggressive down the bottom.
Flash.
Beautiful flash to get away from Soaz's unstoppable force. But the problem is Samix has teleport if he does want to go up to the Baron.
And yeah, we do have Yellowstar at the bottom lane, Sugar saying, I mean, they're doing Baron. I mean, he has no way of getting there right now. They might have the damage to take it with Morden, but the thing is, they're taking so much damage. If they get engaged upon right here, they're going to lose 2 or 3 members. Is Pekka able to poke them down?
Huge damage onto Jim Bones. That Javelin toss coming out of Pekka. We see the Strangle Thorns has been used from mid lane. That's extra Zyra. But both teams are just going to start backing away, and it's a bit of a scrappy battle. Javelin toss comes out. Morden just manages to sidestep it. So Fnatic have been able to at least interrupt the Baron buff. Pekka eats a stun. Crescendo goes down. He's been completely stun locked. Wild Growth comes out. A flash forward from Jim Bones is going to land that final tick of damage. Now they turn onto Enrated. They don't manage to land the stun this time around. If Jim Bones can land the Shuriken, it will land the stun, but it just misses. Jim Bones gets the Glitter Lance. In the meantime, Fnatic have pushed that middle lane. They've got the tower down. They're shoving the inhibitor. Cyanide is gone low. Samix will be throwing out that Cyclone very shortly, but the damage from Yellowstar is really high. So Oasis is just going to start to back away. Ace in the hole, plus one more ground slam just removes Samix from the fight. Now Jim Bones joins the party, manages to hit the kill with the red buff. Soaz should be able to close him out as he escapes from this battle. Giants continue putting on the pressure. Soaz locked up with that cocoon, auto attacks and red buff. The Spiderlings are running. The Spider Lady of Elise carries on jumping. The repel will be available if she decides to use it. Lands that venomous bite and one more neurotoxin to close out the kill. Inhibitor down, but they've lost 3 members for that. Do you think that's worth it?
Not for Giants. I mean, you got 1 kill over them, but you lost an inhibitor. This is the thing. You lost a lot of pressure. I mean, you allow Fnatic to just, wow, Babette's actually going to get caught here and you lose that Oracle.
Take a look at that. Undertow is up. He's going to try sidestep as best as he can. Cyanide is chasing. With Morden joining the party, though, they decide not to go further aggressive, though. Neurotoxin's hitting pretty hard, though.
Like I was saying, I mean, losing that inhibitor in the mid lane, this makes it so as long as Fnatic keeps clearing any sort of vision inside that Baron pit, any sort of vision in that river, if they pick up an Oracle, our Giants have to make a play on it. They have to keep boarding it. And take a look at that. Javelin toss comes out. Cyanide is going to try chase, but a beautiful repel from Morden. Jumps over to the wolves, does get to safety. We see that the grasping roots from Zyra put down just as a defensive ultimate. Fnatic are trying to pick fights here. It's all over the place. They've got damage absolutely everywhere. Morden is forced out of the battle, though, because those Javelin tosses simply just chunked his HP bar away. He still has no magic resist over above his regular, base statistics. And it's not going to be helping him out the longer these battles go. Extra being very brave if he decides to go and challenge this blue buff. And what's great for Fnatic, which I mean, we really haven't touched on too much. We talked about engaging, but the disengage out of Fnatic is very strong with the Lulu Glue Lance, with those axes coming out of Cyanide. It's going to be very hard for, Giants to get some sort of engage. They needed, maybe a teleport from behind out of Semex to get that ultimate to really create the entire fight. But the thing is, he doesn't have the ability to teleport out of his base right now because they're pushed up against it the entire time.
In a 33-minute game, I don't think we've seen a single combination of everybody's ultimate at the same time. We have not seen a Grasping Roots, a Crescendo, and a Cyclone at the same time. So, or rather, Stranglethorns. Fnatic, they set up to siege this bottom lane tower and again decide just to back off. they had creeps there, but they just felt that that fight was not theirs, and once again they just decide to start moving away and backing away from these engagements.
Well, they're being very defensive, very passive, because they have the opportunity to go 2-0 in the LCS day one. Why kind of ruin that when you already have the advantage, you already have the game going the way you want to? So just playing it very systematic right now, letting XPK do his job, getting those spears landing, taking out these global objectives. You see another dragon yet again going to be going over to Fnatic, lengthening their goal lead even further. They got the last 3 dragons in a row, and this is creating such a problem for Giants that I really don't think they can come back from this.
And you can see the HP missing there in Jimbones. That was, a single javelin toss from Peke. He just keeps throwing them away. The split push needly we're seeing, it generally tends to be the sort of bruiser type builds with that, tanky items and HP. But Peke is doing it with an AP build.
Well, why not? I mean, if he can land a spear on Jimbo, it's going to force him to back away. As very smart play on his part. Because of that ward you see on the right side of your screen, the bottom right side, that ward right there gives him the vision to prevent him from being, ganked from behind. All he has to worry about is that one ward at the blue bush where we could see Samix coming from behind with that teleport and go for the kill.
And Locket of the Iron Solaria has been completed by Lulu to go with the Kindle Gem, that Ruby Sidestone. XPK lands another very good, javelin toss. Jimbone's forced out of the lane on 600 HP. But Lulu, 35 minutes in the game, still has not picked up even boots tier 1. Do you think that's quite a brave move?
Well, I mean, the thing about Lulu is you have your own speed buff, so you don't necessarily need those. As long as he's in the right position at the right time to get the ultimate off, then his job's pretty much done. The Glitter Lance, will come a little bit more of a factor. Oh my gosh.
Huge damage onto Jimbone's javelin toss. Chunks him in the face. Now Peck is going to try get to safety. And the red buff has been applied, and we'll see whether or not Elise can get in there. But Jimbones eats another javelin toss. The rest of Fnatic sieging up this top lane.
And look what he did. He drew 2 members of Giants down to that bottom lane, which made it so the rest of his team could push the top, get this turret down, already down to about half health, and he's still there. He's keeping Jimbones there. He's forced them to do something about him, because if not, they're going to lose that inhibitor.
Jimbones is going aggressive onto Peke. Does not decide to flash ulti because the flash is not available. That is the reason Cocoon comes on a beautiful pounce. Just gets him past that little Cocoon, that CC. Yellow Star up in the top lane was missing a lot of HP and was deciding to play quite defensive instead of bashing away in the tower. Is still afraid of the engage that can come down from Samix. Peke continues to pull Jimbones away, and you can just see the engagement up in this top lane. Fnatic just trying to make something happen.
The thing is, Yellow Star, he's playing cautious like you're saying because he doesn't have any defensive item just yet. Yeah, you have the Lulu ultimate, but if you have the enemy team pretty much get on top of you with their ultis, you're not really going to escape that. XPK still at the bot lane, dragging Jimbones away to see Giant trying to go for engage on the top lane with Samix's home guarded boots, but not going to work out, and that's actually a really good pick-up for him, but he hasn't been able to make a play off of it.
And take a look at this. Jimbones does go aggressive, pops the flash, finally the rest of Fnatic is fighting up in the top lane. Slicing Maelstrom comes out in the top lane. Elise has picked up the first kill onto Yellow Star with Yellow Star down. Can Fnatic pick it up? Let's jump to that top lane if we can. Soaz has picked up 1 kill onto Zyra. That's Exterminare. Now Cyanide is running away. The Cocoon just missing his backside. He lands an undertow as he continues to retreat, but this has been a good fight for Giants. They've lost 1 but picked up 2. And Rate is going to get caught up. 406 damage on the crit, 426 damage from the second crit. There is no other flash available from Jimbones, so he will be able to get away to safety. 10-6 in terms of the kill score. I believe we do have a replay of that top lane kill, which we'll jump to in just a second.
Actually, no, I don't think we actually should, because we have Giants going for a Baron right now, and this is actually a really key play in this game. It's a 3-4 at the moment, as Giants going to get pushed off this Baron because those XPK spears. We do have Wukong coming in.
There is no Ragnarok available. Samux has teleported in, so that's the summoner spell down. Baron is going to get picked up. One of the little spiderlings takes that javelin toss damage. Now XPK forced to run back just a little bit, and all of a sudden the balance of power a little bit more towards Giants. The problem is they've got no inhibitor in the middle lane. They've got no inhibitor turret on the bottom lane, and they have super creeps bashing on their nexus. The creeps alone might be able to pick up this inhibitor. Map control versus the power of Baron Nashor. Where do you prefer it?
Well, the thing is, they took away Baron from Fnatic, and with the way Fnatic was playing, they kind of needed that little extra oomph if they want to engage into turrets. But Jimbo's going to get caught here, and he should not be able to escape this.
He's going 1v2. There's no Maelstrom available. Pops the barriers, put a lot of damage down. Wild Growth comes up, a great crescendo. This Cyanide is going to get dropped, but look at the javelin toss onto Jimbones. He gets away from it safely. Barrier plus crescendo saved his life.
And that's how you win games here. We used to have the fight actually continuing.
Now we're going to see Soaz. He's under pressure, gets locked up by the Cocoon. The little spiderlings continue chasing, and now he's going to slowly back away from this. I was asking before that happened, what do you prefer, map control or Baron buff?
The thing is, It's hard to explain because Giants, they took away the Baron from Fnatic, and that's kind of what Fnatic, I mean, they didn't really need the Baron to, go for the pushes, but the thing is, if Fnatic did get Baron, the game would most likely be over. Giants, they lost the middle inhibitor, but the thing is, they weren't going to push out their base anytime soon. It just really confirms that extra farm coming in from the middle lane with those super minions pushing. So, if anything, that completely went in Giants' favor. But the thing is, if they lost that bottom inhibitor, which was very close down to half health, that would have been probably the worst move they could have made.
So they're going to need to wait until this inhibitor's back up before they can start picking any fights with some luck. I think it'll give them about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes of that Baron buff to start picking fights and picking engagements. They're still even on gold, but with the statistical advantage that Baron gives you, is it going to be enough for Giants to actually stop picking these team fights if they can combo their ultimates?
If they can't dodge a spear, then no. Because they've been having a tough time doing that right now. Jimbones, I think he's eaten more spears than he's actually dodged this entire time so far. Not to mention, Bobetta, unfortunately, eating quite a bit himself. And he has the potential to be one-shot right now by these spears.
Yeah, the amount of damage is so powerful. That Haunting Guise, plus the Amplifying Tome, Rabadon's Death Cap, Seraph's Embrace, Peke is hitting really hard. Finally, boots have been picked up by N-Rated's Lulu. That'll just help him.
He's like, do I have to?
Yep, guide and kite. But look at that, 0-0-1 on his support. It's only 6 kills for his team. It's been a very low kill game. And Giants, they're simply keeping ahead because they have almost double the number of kills. Jimbones is caught up in CS though, so that'll start to balance out the power in terms of itemization.
Yeah, well, we can take a kind of recap of the entire game so far. We had Giants, they won the early game. That's no contest right there. Thing is, they didn't take advantage of that, and Fnatic was able to stall the game out long enough for Xpeke's spears to really start hurting. And once that happened, and they started landing those, Fnatic was able to start pushing, able to get these turrets down. And Giants, which, we were talking about during the picks and bans, that if they get that early advantage, they easily can win the game, haven't taken advantage of that, and now they're pretty much looking at a loss as their first game of the season. We
have seen absolutely no ability power coming out of Soaz's Malphite right now. He's gone full tank, full bruiser, full survivability, Haunting Guy, the Spirit Visage, Sunfire Cap, and now Guardian Angel being completed. I think it's the first Guardian Angel today, I'm pretty sure about that one. It's an item that's sort of fallen out of favor in the Season 3 tournaments.
Yeah, it's been favoring just health building, and that's the thing. I mean, he doesn't really need the damage. He's just there for when Xpeke lands that nice spear to start the fight, to really lock down that person that gets hit with it, because if he does that, they're going to die. They're not going to escape even with Flash, and that'll create pretty much an inhibitor and the game.
So we'll see now Fnatic starting to siege up this bottom lane. The inhibitor and the mid lane will be respawning very soon, and they're going to decide to carry on putting some pressure. We'll see if they decide to pick a fight. They do have some good engaged potential with the Malphite and the Olaf, and with Malphite having the Guardian Angel, it's effectively a 5.5 versus 5 or 6 versus 5, whatever you prefer. And what do you think about this setup? Can Fnatic pick a fight and win with all of Giants' ultimates available?
Well, Giants, they do have Baron, which is going to be really key here. But the thing is, Fnatic, they don't need to fight. What's the point when we can poke you down, get you low, that you have to back away and get another free inhibitor? The mid lane is pushing, so Giants have to do something about this. And if they don't, they're going to lose a Nexus turret. But by tending to it, they're going to lose their inhibitor. So now 2 inhibs down. They have 1 turret, 1 inhibitor left on the top side. Fnatic, they can make a play on that. They can just stall it out. They can keep Giants in. If they do that, those 2 waves of super minions are going to keep pushing in, and Giants are going to have to deal with it. And from that, another tower, another inhibitor.
Yeah, great play from Fnatic. Just waiting for those super creeps. The timing was absolutely insane. They started pushing up their lane before the super creeps had actually got to that middle lane. And by the time they started to put some damage down, the super creeps then got, towards those Nexus turrets. Javelin toss comes out from Xpeke, just slides past the tail of Morden. 11-6, it keeps throwing them out. Those are just blind guesses through the fog of war, through the smoke, trying to find someone. Could hit them to extra. Drops them down over, 30-40%. Let's be honest, there's a good chunk of HP. 1 or 2 more of those might just signal the engagement. But Giants are doing well to dodge the spears this time around.
Yeah, good thing by Giants. Oh, there it is. But the good thing I was going to say about Giants, Bobetta has a ward over that wall, so they can't see the spears coming, but clearly it didn't matter.
And take a look at this. We do see an engagement now on this middle tower. They're just going to face tank it without any creeps. Another great spear comes out. Cocoon lands onto Peke. Glitzer Lancers slowed Morden down. I wonder if they're going to decide to go aggressive on this. Repel comes up. Morden has decided. Shirelia's Reverie has been popped, and they immediately start to back off. Are they going to re-engage? This is the question. Flash from Morden. Javelin toss just misses the spider. Little ward goes down just to interrupt those attack movements from Fnatic, try to slow them down. But with all the super creeps now in the middle lane and a massive wave of creeps on the bottom lane, this is Fnatic's time to keep on the pressure.
And Giants, they have to go for a ball 2 player. They have to go for an engage. Oh, yes, Samix actually going to engage.
Take a look at that. Beautiful Cyclone comes out. Samix has been slowed down. Now the Unstoppable Force into the background. They're trading back and forth. Damage onto Yellowstar and Enrated is very, very high. Sawes is forced to flash out. This is a team fight victory for Giants. They've done very, very well. Going to carry on chasing. Red buff ticking. That's going to be a death for Enrated and a great play from Giants.
And that's exactly what they needed to do. They had to fend off Fnatic. They couldn't let these waves keep pushing. They couldn't lose yet another inhibitor, but they actually might do. Samix needs to pay attention. Those minions are still hitting it. That's fine. Oh, and it goes down because they didn't pay attention. They lost the top one as well.
Great play from Peke. That means all 3 inhibitors are down. Double super creeps will be spawning. He's going to try to deny himself. Now he's actually going to decide to run backwards. The slow comes out and the cocoon misses. So Peke will lose his life.
Doesn't matter.
Pops that Seraph's Embrace, but the amount of super creeps pouring into Giants' base, it's just a matter of time before Fnatic decide to push with the creeps and try to secure a victory.
Not to mention Baron, which will be up in a couple of minutes here. I mean, yeah, Peke died there, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. They got all 3 inhibitors down. Yeah, those 3 waves of super minions pushing. We do have, Giants, they're making use of it. They're getting some items that they need. We do have Wukong, has a Bloodthirster done. Still has a Giant Spot, hasn't turned it into anything, and he's had it for about, I want to say, 20 minutes so far. Exter's building up towards, some sort of match resist because he's still eating the spears, and he has quite a bit of damage to sort there. I mean, the combo they landed, it set up the entire fight. They had Fnatic running away, pretty much scared because there's nothing Fnatic could do about it. But the thing is, Giants couldn't get the re-engage off of that initial fight.
It's just an example of how Fnatic understand how to play the map. They're not playing the enemy team. They're not necessarily even playing the champions. We haven't seen very many big 5v5 engagements as Fnatic start the Baron buff. But, it's just Fnatic showing their understanding of the game, their understanding of when to push a tower. And, Fnatic, they're playing the towers and the Nexus, not necessarily the enemy champions. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And now that we have Yellowstar has that Warmogs done, there's nothing that's stopping them from going for a team fight, especially with this Baron on top of that, those 3 waves pushing. It's their game to win. They've been playing so systematic this entire time, playing exceptionally well, and honestly, Fnatic kind of deserves this win with the way they've been playing. Yeah,
Giants have kept themselves in it. I mean, they had that very early advantage. The gold is still bang on even. I mean, it does not get closer to than that. And, leading up to this, we've been making a number of jokes and a number of references to the team that has the most either Giants belts or Warmogs wins the game. And Fnatic with 4 Warmogs, you can see the gold values there. Look at the different 14,000 gold, 12,000 gold, 15,000 gold, 14,000 gold. They're relatively even across the board. In actual fact, Babette has more gold than it rated because of the 9 assists. But it's just not showing, because even though Giants have the kills and have the team fight wins, Fnatic has the map control, the map presence, and the map wins, if you can use that as a term.
Well, usually when the support has that gold advantage, you put it into wars, you put it into the extra controller on the map. The thing is, they haven't been able to leave their own base for the last 5 to 10 minutes, so it just really doesn't matter. We do have Fnatic finally going for push-up, though, with all these 3 ways pushing. Quick shot. What can we see here? We have the home guard coming out.
Oh, take a look at that. The Shirelia's Reverie has been popped. Samix is trying to find the place. Wow. Every single ultimate is down. Enrated has been removed from the fight before it's even really began. They have traded 1-for-1. That's an AP mid for a support. Fnatic are going to be happy with that. Double kill though for Jim Bones as he's removed Cyanide from the battle. Yellowstar still looking relatively healthy in the back lane, as is Soaz, and the Guardian Angel is still available for him. They're going to carry on chasing Seismic Shard plus Ground Slam. Soaz will get locked up by the Cocoon. Finally, Exhaust goes down onto Yellowstar, and the entire time that's been happening, Peke's been up in the top lane. He's taken the first Nexus turret down. Now they've turned their pressure onto Samix. He's been dropped from the fight. The millions of super creeps are pouring into the base. Peke closes up the team ace, the first ace of the game. They pick up the win, and Fnatic, they defeat Giants in the matchup.
That was actually pretty funny at the end, but Beta, he actually died to the super minions, unfortunately for him. But still, great job by Fnatic. I mean, they were fighting 4v5, and Expected was just pushing, but they have the knowledge between each other to say, hey, it doesn't matter because we have Expected pushing. He's going to get that wave pushed up. He's going to join the fight a little bit later, and we have such a tanky front line with Soaz that any damage Giants can put out, even though Enrated died right off the bat, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, absolutely well played by Fnatic. We're going to be throwing this over to our analysis desk. Joe and D-Man, you ready to take it away?
Splendid result there, which I kind of wasn't expecting. Started off the game so well, but they just let them back into it. They just ground it out.
It was a weird one,
and they just let them back in. And it's like Giants. But this, we talk about this all the time. The top teams know how to pounce on victory. If that was EG or GG, I say EG, they grind out the result. But if that was Gambit Gaming, they would have gone in for that one and they would just pounce. They had saw that advantage and they'd have pounced. The moment they had that 3v1 in that top lane, they would have just pounced on it.
Well, the funny thing about it as well that you use the word pounce, which kind of fits in nicely to how Fnatic did that one as well. I mean, Xpeke, what a performance once again. Split pushing so often. I'd love to actually, in fact, I'm going to just do that right now. I'm going to look at how much damage he actually did through that game, because his spears, they were magnetic or something. I don't know. They were just so good. We saw so often someone on full HP, like just, I'm on full HP, no problem. And down to half HP instantly from Xpeke, and he did such a great job. I mean, Trevor pushed on the point that a split push Nidalee we've seen a lot more often, I'd say, being built as that bruiser Nidalee type. But this time around, it was the AP Nidalee. Jim Bones, we saw him trying to fight him off in the bottom lane, chasing him all the way down to below the halfway point, and he just pounces away, throws the odd spear back, can turn it right around. And as I said, it was a bit of a weird one because Giants had this advantage, and they didn't push it when they had that advantage, and Fnatic sat back, soaked up the pressure, more importantly soaked up the farm, and then slowly but surely pushed it out with the help of that poke. Yeah, and Jason pointed out the fact that they didn't have much health. You know, they didn't go for the Warmogs, which we saw, obviously, Fnatic stacked out those Warmogs. They ended up with 4 more Warmogs, I think it was, before the end of the game. Giants, on the other hand, they went for the damage. So when them spears did land, it looked devastating, and it was devastating. I think Sona in that game had, what, 1,200, 1,300 hit points. So when that spear landed, it could almost one-shot if it was at max range. Jim Bones barely had any health on there. The Elise, it was Morden, had next to no health. Finally got the Rylers in there, but it was a little bit late, and just there was nothing tanking his. Samux on Wukong had no tankiness because went for the damage, went for that Black Cleaver to start with. And you thought, okay, they've got great damage here. They could go for this big AE comp. They've got a massive CC comp. And we said at the start, huge CC. They got, you know, all the ultimates combined, they could have decimated them. It was an AoE CC comp. That's what it was right down there. And not once did they actually go for the fight. It was weird. Samux was permanently split pushing down that side with teleport. It's like, well, that's great. But you've got this AE comp, not a split push comp. What are you doing? It seemed a little strange. We're going to check out the replay, though, because there was this one fight. It was towards the end, actually. It was around about a 42-minute mark, so it was already sliding towards Fnatic. And if I just hold it, you can see the pause mark. I have it held out here. I think it was down the bottom here. We'd seen the chase earlier on, which is where the crazy chase had happened. So Peke had already created the advantage. He'd already taken down the inhibitor down the bottom here. Meanwhile, you can see N-Rated just off at the side. Peke is continuing his standard split push. He's pouncing around the side there. So let's unfreeze the action. It's where they're going to start going in towards this middle. You can see the super minions already in there as I unpause it. Whoa, not that fast. I won't do. And you can see finally he does manage to get the Cyclone. The ultimate comes in though, but you can see Soaz immediately took 3 members of Giants out of the game. This fight actually goes pretty well for Giants, but it's just too little too late. Soaz flashes out. The damage comes in. Cyanide's taken low, but while this is all happening, and this is just the genius that is Peke. Look, you can see it was like, okay, everybody's backing away. You know what? I'm going to go up here. I'm just going to take this inhibitor out. Finally, N-Rated goes down, and there's not a lot of damage comes out, but Peke is just like, well, I'm Nidalee. Not a lot can catch me, and he just carries on fighting it down. Finally, Babetta comes out. There's super minions on the Nexus turret. The inhibitor's desperately going down here. Samux is like, split, what do I defend? Oh god, I've lost that one. Oh, the Nexus turret, I've got to defend that. Oh wait, Peke is taking the inhibitor. Suddenly, all the inhibitors are down, and that was just a big point. I mean, as soon as that happened, Fnatic Peke is just like, yeah, okay, well, I died for it, but they just lost 2 inhibitors because of that one little bit of play. The rest of the team were running out. He runs in, just as we saw in Katowice. Yeah, fantastic performance from Fnatic as a whole, and really from Peke. And I said I was going to bring up a little bit of statistical knowledge from the game for that one. So let me just give you a bit of an overview from Giants' side of things. Their highest champion damage was 35,000. That came from Kennen. But to match that up, you know, Zyra 25k, Elise 24,000, Wukong 17,000. Bear in mind, didn't go tanky, went more towards the damage build. And then you look at Nidalee, 42,000 damage to champions done in that game. That is an insane amount overall. So, you know, you've got to give massive credits to XPK once again there, showing his versatility, showing that he can do things alone, showing that he can come into it when it's part of his team and leave again when he knows it's better for the rest of his team as well. Just an overall brilliant performance from Fnatic. And, you know, they've done what they needed to do coming into today, which is play 2 games, win 2 games.
And full credit to Giants, though. They put up a pretty good performance, I think, there. Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to be impressed with that. They went 4-0 in the qualifiers, so we expected a decent performance. They went with the same team comp. They went with the crowd control, massive crowd control comp. They again, Jim Bones went with that Kennen. He seems to favor the AD Kennen. Yeah. Fnatic seem to have it figured out, and, you know, Jason mentioned it at the time. All they need to do is draw this game out late. It's exactly what they did. Giants just let them do it. So these are sort of things they have to learn from. They have to take advantage of.
Certainly.
You know, they have to realize we have this advantage. You know, we've got to do the ballsy plays. They're in a league where they're going to have 28 games over the 10-week period. They've got to take advantage of these chances. They're not going to come along all the time. They're not going to get gifted these advantage where you're 5,000 gold up. I think it was only around about the 16k mark as well, the gold. So that was a big advantage in gold. They had a huge advantage early on. They had that top lane completely shoved. They dived on that 3-man push. Jim Bones had really the better of Yellow Star, but Yellow Star gets himself back into it. And by the time Giants, I think, suddenly realized, we should probably have a fight here. It's too late. You know, there was already I think it was a 50 to 60 CS swing in top lane, mid lane, and bottom lane. Fnatic just like, well, you know, we've got the fight now. We've got the control. And you even saw it towards the end there. Even when they were looking to get engaged, Giants were like, okay, we're going to fight. We're going to fight on the air inhibitor. We're going to go for it. Fnatic were just so quick to disengage. They are so practiced that, okay, this is a big CC comp. We know what we're going to do against this one. We got caught out before. Not going to happen again.
Yeah, and I think we see there the prime example of a great team versus one of the best teams. That ability, when you've got that lead, however small it is, to keep pushing it through. You know, okay, we've got the item over the cash advantage, which equates to an item advantage. This is the time where the AoE comp really can shine. Let's get it all together, get all pushing one turret together, so if they try and defend it, we can hammer in there, dive on top of it. And to be honest with you, Giants will get there. Their house here in Cologne should be sorted by next week. I was actually talking to them earlier on, and that's the point where they can really push through. But as you said, chances like that don't come along too often. Yeah. If you want to be in the top 6 and into the playoffs at the end of the half season, I guess we can call it, one thing you've got to do is seize chances against the world's best teams like Fnatic and push it through for the win.
Well, Fnatic now top the league. They are 2-0, so they are top in the league. They've had a great result against SK. And actually, speaking to N-Rated just before the game started, he said it feels strange. It's not like IPL. It's not like the qualifiers. There is no pressure on us. He says it feels a bit weird. They're playing pressure-free because they've got this 10-week gap. They've got these 28 matches ahead of them. It's not like you're going to get knocked out of the tournament. You are here for the duration until the half season, of course, when potentially they could get relegated. But as it is, they've got a really good start to the season. But if they realize they're playing that situation, that's a situation that probably Giants weren't in. They were probably coming into this one thinking, oh God, it's our first game of this season, and we're against Fnatic, a team that they know very well. Samux has subbed. He played the SK tournaments for Fnatic. Giants, you know, they're all Spanish. Everybody knows Peke. Peke played with half these players in the WCG Spain team. So they're all well aware of each other. So the pressure was very much on them. But as it is, you know, they had that advantage. They didn't take it. They need to look at this and go, okay, we've got another 27 games in the season. So therefore, just got to play it confident, and maybe that confidence is going to grow as they go on.
Well, it's like any other sport that has a season rather than, you know, a knockout here, a knockout there. It's a marathon and not just a sprint. You've got to almost fake the pressure on yourselves to say each week in, week out, okay, we've got to win today, we've got to win today, not to sit back and let that just happen to you. But anyway, that's enough about that game. We're going to throw it over to Shox for an interview with one player from Fnatic.
Yes, I'm here with Cyanide from Team Fnatic, jungler. Cyanide, is it a specific tactic from Fnatic to lose in the beginning of the game and then come back to throw the enemy off?
Well, we really never intend to lose the early, but it just goes how it goes. Like, especially that game, we played really bad and we were very uncoordinated in the early game. but we managed to come back. Like we just were like, what the heck, we need to focus now, and so we can win this.
You played Giants in the qualifier in Warsaw and lost because you couldn't manage to engage on them. How did you plan on working around that this time around?
Well, this time I think they had a problem because we had Nidalee, and they just took a spear before every time they could engage, and they couldn't do anything pretty much. And they really had the advantage early game, and they should have just, I think, grouped and attacked us, but they didn't. When we got 3 turrets and we got back into the game, and it was their mistake why they lost, I think.
And how important do you think it is that you have the experience of having been on grand stages before, while Giants, it's maybe one of the first times?
Yeah, of course.